Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, January 6, 2026 Board of Education meeting. If we would all please rise for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to 2026, everybody. At this time, I'm going to call on the district clerk. We have Jean Kruger for the first time to please take a roll call.
Adam Smith.
Present.
Julie Epstein.
Here.
Sandra Alvarez.
Here.
Deborah Brooks.
Here.
Rachel Gilliard.
She'll be coming shortly.
Okay. Nanette Melkonian.
Here.
Jessica Mawani.
Here.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt today's agenda. That's the January 6, 2026 agenda. Do I have a second? Ms. Melwani. All in favor? 6-0. The agenda is adopted. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to recess to executive session to seek advice from counsel. Do I have a second? Ms. Epstein. All in favor? 6-0. We are recessed. We expect to return at the normal time of 7:30. See you then. we have everybody? Yep, okay. Like to make a motion to reconvene in public session. Do we have a second? Ms. Epstein, thank you very much. All in favor? 7-0. We are reconvened in public session. I'd like to call on the district clerk to please take another roll call if you don't mind.
Adam Smith,
Present?
Julie Epstein,
Here.
Sandra Alvarez,
Here.
Deborah Brooks,
Here.
Rachel Gilliard,
Here.
Nanette Melkonian,
Here.
Jessica Mawani,
Here.
Kaylin Costello.
Here.
Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. I hope everyone had a wonderful break with time to recharge and spend time with family. As we return from the break and look ahead to the months to come, the board is beginning its work on the development of the 26-27 budget. This begins tonight. Consistent with our commitment to transparency, all budget discussions prior to adoption in April are preliminary and, as always, subject to change. We encourage community participation throughout the budget process and look forward to seeing you at budget workshops, Board of Education meetings, and community presentations as this work progresses. With that, we wish everyone a happy and healthy 2026 and look forward to the remainder of the school year. Dr. Posse, would you please give your report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Smith, and Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you had a restful and restorative break. I want to begin by highlighting some recent student accomplishments at Schreiber High School. Since our last board meeting, students in the Schreiber Research Program have continued to earn national and international recognition. This spring, a Schreiber student has been selected to present cancer research at the American Association for Cancer Research annual meeting, one of the most prestigious research conferences in the world. Schreiber research students have also earned multiple honors at the South Asian American Women's Alliance Research Competition, with awards across environmental science, biology, and behavioral and social sciences. In addition, a Schreiber student qualified for the American Invitational Mathematics Examination after scoring in the top 10% nationwide on the AMC. These accomplishments reflect both the dedication of our students and the exceptional mentorship provided by our faculty. They also serve as a reminder that strong outcomes are supported by strong systems and environments that allow students and staff to do their work. With that in mind, I want to recognize the exceptional work of our facilities and IT departments. Over the December break, the facilities team completed the planned energy performance contract work in the administration building, including ceiling and lighting upgrades. At the same time, our IT department ensured continuity of district operations by relocating administrative staff across the district and restoring offices, technology, and systems once that work was complete. The coordination allowed important work to happen with minimal disruption. In addition to this planned work, the facilities team also responded quickly and professionally to several unexpected situations. At Weber Middle School, a steam leak in the cafeteria required immediate emergency repairs, including excavation and replacement of original piping. A downed power line on Campus Drive caused power surges affecting both Weber Middle School and Schreiber High School. Just days earlier, the team had also responded to a steam leak at Sousa that required the relocation of 2 classrooms. In each instance, the response was calm, effective, and focused on safety. All of this speaks to the expertise, coordination, and commitment of our facilities and IT teams. I'm grateful for the care and professionalism they bring to their work each day. I share these examples because they provide important context for the conversation we're having this evening. Our buildings function as well as they do because of consistent maintenance, thoughtful planning, and steady effort. At the same time, these events remind us of the age, complexity, and interconnected nature of our infrastructure. With that context, tonight's agenda includes a long-term facilities planning discussion. Ms. Manuel and Mr. Graham will present an update grounded in our most recent building condition survey. The goal is to provide the board with a clear, data-informed picture of where our facilities are today and what it will take to maintain them responsibly over time. As you review the presentation, you'll see that our schools are generally well-maintained as a result of consistent annual investment. That approach has allowed us to keep our buildings safe, stable, and operational across the district. You'll also see that many core systems are aging and that future needs are becoming more complex. The presentation highlights needs across all of our buildings, and we'll discuss those as we get to the presentation. But this work gives us the opportunity to step back and think strategically about the future. It opens a broader conversation about long-term facilities planning, fiscal stewardship, and how we align our investments with safety, instructional priorities, and community expectations. I want to briefly connect this conversation to the budget process, which is well underway. In line with our 26-27 budget calendar, each board meeting between last month's proposed program enhancements presentation and the preliminary budget presentation scheduled for March 10th is designed to engage the board in identifying priorities and weighing the considerations that shape our budget. Several key data points are still being reviewed, which is why the process extends into March before we have a clearer picture of where we will ultimately land. At our next meeting, we'll review projected health insurance increases, employer contribution rates for the New York State retirement system, and the property tax base growth factor, which determines allowable tax cap growth based on new construction. We'll also discuss how anticipated staffing changes, including retirements and proposed new positions, factor into the overall budget picture. At our last meeting, we introduced instructional initiatives that emerged from this year's work, reflecting a focus on strengthening foundational instruction, improving coherence across classrooms, and expanding academic opportunities for students. This evening, we'll share our recommendations related to the facilities portion of the budget. It's still early in the process, and decisions will continue to evolve as additional information becomes available. Throughout this work, we remain committed to keeping the board engaged and informed as we move forward thoughtfully and responsibly. Before I conclude my report, I also want to briefly note that we're preparing for the 5th administration of our school climate survey. Over the past 4 years, feedback from students, staff, and parents has provided valuable insight and has helped inform programs and initiatives across the district. The next survey window will be open from January 7th through January 21st, and the surveys take approximately 15 to 20 minutes to complete. All responses are anonymous. Staff and parents will receive the survey links electronically, and students in grades 4 through 12 will complete the survey during the school day. We encourage broad participation as this feedback continues to play an important role in shaping our work and strengthening our district. We look forward to discussing the results of the climate survey with the board on February 10th. For the Assistant Superintendent's report this evening, I'd like to introduce Dr. Shields, who will give us an enrollment report.
Thank you, Dr. Posse. The last enrollment report was calculated on December 10th. And at that time, we had, in kindergarten through 12th grade, 5,090 students. That's 168 students less than we had this time last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shields. The last portion of my report is the ex officio student board member update.
Good evening. Students have just returned to school after having an enjoyable and restful holiday break and are getting right back into their studies with midterms just around the corner. Following the many conversations regarding the grading policy changes, Dr. Bear and I are working to send out a survey to students to gather a representative sample of the Schreiber student population and collect their opinions and concerns about the new grading system. I hope everyone enjoyed the holiday season and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Please, Deborah.
Thank you, Kaylin. Will the survey be sent to all of the students in Schreiber? You said a representative sample, so are only some students being selected, or do you know?
Dr. Bear and I are still working out the details.
The policy committee thanks you for your efforts, and we look forward to the results.
Okay, that's your full report?
Yes.
Great, thank you. At this time, we'd like to open to community comments. I didn't see anybody signed up. I wanted to just give another opportunity if anyone wanted to speak who hasn't signed up. Okay, we're gonna move on to our discussion item, which is the first of our long budget development process. So, Ms. Manuel, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Ms. Manuel, and thank you, Mr. Graham. I want to take a moment to frame this presentation before we walk through the details. So by way of background, it's helpful to remember both the age of our buildings and how the district has historically cared for them. Several of our buildings were originally constructed in the middle of the last century. Schreiber High School and Manor Haven were both built in 1951. The administration building followed in 1952, Sousa in 1956, Guggenheim in 1962. Weber and Daly are our oldest buildings, both originally constructed in 1927. South Salem, which was reopened in 2004, is our newest instructional facility. So more recently, over the past 25 years, the district has taken a deliberate phased approach to facilities investment. During that time, the district has sought voter authorization for periodic bond issuances to complete large-scale renovations and improvements of our aging buildings. In 2001, voters approved a bond, and the most recent voter-approved bond was in 2015. And that bond focused on expanding the footprint of our facilities, upgrading instructional spaces, and addressing critical infrastructure needs across the district. Given the age of our buildings, they require constant care, maintenance, and modernizing to continue serving both students and community needs. In between periodic bond issuances, the district has relied on our annual operating budget to address smaller scale projects. And in 2022, we established a capital reserve to fund a particular HVAC infrastructure project. This approach has allowed the district to keep buildings safe, functional, and operational while balancing long-term needs with fiscal responsibility. Every 5 years, the district conducts a building condition survey completed by the district's architect. The survey provides an infrastructure-driven analysis of each building. The most recent survey makes clear that many major building systems are aging and are approaching, or in some cases past, the end of their useful life. While these systems are still functioning, the data reminds us that continued reliability cannot be assumed without intentional long-term planning. As would be expected for aging buildings, the survey suggests that we're approaching a point where the scale of work required to maintain and modernize our facilities is growing beyond what can be reasonably addressed through annual maintenance and capital reserves alone. As a result, the survey suggests that the scale and complexity of future work will require thoughtful, long-term planning and a careful examination of how the district addresses major capital needs over time. So on this slide, you have the three categorizations of the building conditions survey. We've categorized them into three groupings: safety and security, infrastructure, academic, and co-curricular. Safety and security projects include interior and exterior door hardening. Many classroom doors are original to their buildings and include large glass panels. Current school safety guidance recommends replacing those panels with smaller panels located away from the door handle and installing locking mechanisms that allow doors to be secured from inside the classroom rather than from the corridor. In addition, fire alarm and communication systems across our buildings require updating. Those are just some of the projects in safety and security. Some of the infrastructure projects include asbestos abatement and flooring replacement, HVAC systems and boilers, parking lot repairs, exterior masonry repairs, column restoration, and window replacement. Asbestos, as you know, was a commonly used construction material when many of our buildings were constructed. While the district has completed abatement work over time, large-scale efforts would require a substantial investment. And of course, it goes without saying that asbestos that is undisturbed is safe, and we do monitor our classrooms regularly. The area of academic and co-curricular category include infrastructure-driven projects only. They do not include a more future-focused projects that would be better defined by committee of faculty, staff, and community members. The building condition survey does not address those. The building condition survey addresses things that are currently in place. So for example, it states that our fields on Campus Drive are approaching the end of their useful life and will need to be addressed as part of future planning. With that overview, I'll turn it over to Ms. Manuel and Mr. Graham to walk us through the prioritization of projects and the financing options available to the district that include this year's recommended budget allocation and projects and a 5-year proposed look ahead to fund larger scale projects. Mr. Graham.
Good evening. The Building Condition Survey provides ratings for all facilities improvement measures, and also we've organized these priority levels. As you'll see in this slide, priority 1 items represent critical safety, compliance, and operational concerns. Examples would be fire alarms or communication or PA systems, as well as pavements and sidewalk repairs that require timely attention to ensure reliability and continuity of school operations. Priority 2 items address essential infrastructure, including exterior doors, door hardening, and interior ADA upgrades that, while currently functional, increasing inefficiently and a risk of failure is deferred. And priority 3 items focus on longer-term modernization and enhancement, such as heating and cooling systems, classroom modernization, which improve learning environments and support programmatic goals.
And as this slide represents, it's very significant, the different priority levels. You have 36 million with priority 1, 45 million with priority 2, and priority 3, 65 million. So these aren't things that can just be done through a simple transfer to capital. Importantly, the total projected cost of addressing these needs across all priorities is significant, with costs rising due to inflation, material pricing, and the cumulative impact of deferred replacement. While the district has responsibly managed facilities through annual capital transfers and targeted projects, the survey indicates that this approach alone will result in phased work, longer timelines, and increased long-term costs. This slide reflects funding sources that schools can utilize to finance projects, such as reserve funds, annual budget appropriations, building aid, and borrowing. We will discuss this in more detail. So, as you know, the district took a proactive step and voters approved the establishment and funding of a capital reserve in May of 2022. This reserve is to address the district-wide replacements, renovations of electrical services, HVAC equipment, and associated projects. Many districts establish and fund repair reserves with excess monies from prior years. This slide provides an overview of the basic framework of establishing, funding, and utilization of a repair reserve. This was discussed in detail at the December 15th Budget and Facilities Committee meeting. Prior to the winter break, as Dr. Posse discussed, there was a power surge that caused substantial damage to the district's electrical infrastructure, which further impacted the middle school heating system. This is a perfect example of something a repair reserve could have been used to offset the cost. The annual budget, which requires voter approval, is also a common way for districts to address facility needs. Each year, Port Washington budgets a portion of its operating budget through a transfer to capital line for capital repairs and improvements. Major upgrades are not always possible due to cost. Projects are often broken into smaller phases and partially delayed, as is the case with some of our roofing projects. Due to cost escalations, we weren't able to complete the entire projects. We had to push them off to future years, which often leads to inefficiencies and increasing costs of deferred maintenance. So for 25-26, we have 4.2 million appropriated for this line. And for 26-27, we're recommending a slight increase to 4.4 million. So this slide discusses long-term borrowing and what's involved with that. It's a common way for districts to finance capital projects. This borrowing allows large capital projects to be done immediately, with the cost being spread over several years, and this helps reduce the stress on the operating budget. Building aid from the state helps to lower the local share of large voter-approved school construction projects, making major improvements more affordable for our community. The current building aid ratio for Port Washington is about 23.7%. So the architect's analysis, his building condition survey, underscores that the district faces a strategic decision point. Continued reliance on incremental repairs will maintain basic functionality, but it will limit the district's ability to address multiple large-scale needs efficiently and proactively. A more comprehensive long-range facility strategy would allow the district to better align facility investments with safety expectations, instructional needs, and fiscal stewardship. So this slide provides a 5-year look ahead in terms of long-range planning, addressing facility needs through the operating budget via transfer to capital will continue to be the standard practice for Port Washington, and use of reserves may also be used to fund certain capital expenditures. As the slide reflects at the bottom, in 2030-31 school year, debt service payments related to $10 million worth of borrowing begin to fall off. As discussed at the December Budget and Facilities Committee meeting, the district may want to establish a long-term facilities planning committee prior to 2030-31 to consider replacing that debt with a capital bond. So we kind of discussed maybe the 27-28 school year, really kind of sitting and looking at it more. So schools, it's a very common practice where they have a long-term facilities planning committee. And some of the tasks that they're typically charged with are defining the project and the scope, estimating the cost, considering state aid and the regulations, estimating the tax impact, engaging stakeholders, and determining the timing of such.
Regarding the proposed transfer to capital for the 26-27 year, we're operating with a proposed budget of $4.4 million. That is a slight increase from this year's $4.2 million. The proposed projects include Guggenheim, flooring and abatement. This is a result of a required environmental review that's conducted every 6 months and re-inspections every 3 years. In our most recent round of inspections, several floors at Guggenheim, although safe for students and staff, were recommended for replacement when possible. Manor Haven, the retaining wall, is something that I know we've discussed previously. This item was the only unsatisfactory rating in the most recent BCS. So again, every item gets a rating. This was the only one that got a U. We have had the area reviewed by the district's architects and engineers. It includes soil boring, engineering, compaction testing. While this does require replacement, it's important to note that the building was not impacted. It is structurally sound and poses no immediate risk, and we continue to monitor that. And then Daly, as Ms. Manuel referenced, the district had a previous 5-year roof plan, which included roofing and masonry at Daly. When that project came due to escalation, the scope was significantly reduced, and there were certain small areas of roofing, but mostly the masonry was removed from the project. So we need to go back and complete the balance of that masonry and roofing. And there's also some end-of-life rooftop units. These projects are funded through our transfer to capital, which is part of the operating budget. Okay.
So in summary, Port's facilities are stable but aging. The systems are working, but many are nearing the end of their service life. The building condition survey provides a clear and credible roadmap of needs. creating an opportunity for thoughtful planning, prioritization, and community engagement around how to best protect and invest in Port Washington's facilities over the coming years. So we'd like to open it up to the Board of Ed for any questions or comments.
Okay, does any trustee have questions? Just want to get a sense. Does everyone have questions? Okay. Deborah?
No, I asked all my questions at the Budget
Yeah.
and Facilities
Never
Committee,
mind.
so go ahead.
Okay.
So thank you for the presentation. Regarding establishing the long-term facilities planning committee, why wait until 2027? Why not start 2026 to 2027 school year?
That was something that was discussed at the Budget and Facilities meeting, and I believe we felt that it would make sense to just push it a little closer to the 5 years.
One of the key questions that we discussed at the Budget and Facilities meeting was really the appropriate timing, because to do a large scale improvement. As you saw from slide 4, the total priorities in facilities improvement areas total 146 million. If we were, if you were to tackle the entire list. So clearly, our transfer to capital is 4.2 million this year. Next year, we're proposing 4.4. It would take us a real considerable amount of time to do that. And, truthfully, as we said from the start, the transfer to capital is not meant for large-scale improvements. It's meant to fund smaller projects. So the question became, well, when is the right time to consider doing a bond or a large-scale facilities improvement funded through a bond. And in 2030, 2031, there is $10 million of borrowing that will fall off. So the idea was that we would mitigate the impact on the taxpayer if we waited that long.
And then my other question is, I understand it's quote-unquote only $200,000 in the grand scheme of the budget, but with regard to the Guggenheim flooring and abatement, given that the environmental review said the floors are safe, I understand it's recommended to be replaced, but if the floors are safe, why are they recommended to be replaced?
So the environmental process is that the floors and all asbestos-containing and suspected asbestos-containing materials are surveilled every 6 months. Once a product has been put on their radar that there was some degradation, there was an abatement needed of a small area, there's potential for that area to grow, and that's when they make that recommendation that this should be replaced prior to having a failure and having to do an emergency abatement. An emergency abatement can impact the classroom, can take it offline, can really impact the operation. So we want to be ahead of that and be proactive in getting that abatement done over the summer when it's not going to impact instruction or operation of the building.
I understand, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Malconian, thank you.
I had the same question about starting the committee a year earlier, so I had my answer. Thank you.
Ms. Alvarez?
I was on the committee. I have a question that came up after the fact. Because I brought it up in a different setting, not related to this presentation, but I had asked about getting an update on the demographic report, like the last time. It's pre me being on the board, as far as what the projections look like for, future enrollments, birth rates. So I was trying to find when is the last time that was presented to the board, and it looked like it was 2022 during the long-range facilities planning discussion.
Yeah.
So during that prior discussion, they were presented together. So I'm just wondering if that's being looked at, and if it is, could it be shared?
If I recall, Ms. Manuel, those are usually done on a cycle, and she did it on like a 10-year cycle, right? So
Yes.
they were recommending updating, it was like 5 years or 10 years or something?
Well, Jessica Mack actually works with Dr. Shields each year to look at projections. So we do, Jessica's projections were kind of in line with that update that we did have performed,
Yeah.
so.
And
we
if I
do
recall,
look-
she showed it flat pretty
It
much,
was
right, for
flat,
10 years?
yes.
Yeah.
So-
So is there something you can show us, just because I guess Ms. Alvarez is asking, is there anything she
I
can see?
can look into that and see where she is.
Maybe a
with
copy of
that.
the old report?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have it in the reference file in board docs. Okay. Great. Any further, Ms. Gilliard?
I'm definitely on board for all of this. I think it's a really important change that we made several years ago, really forward-thinking about facilities instead of having water on our head and then deciding, literal and figurative water on our heads and then deciding to do something then. So I'm definitely on board for continuing the plan. I have a little bit of a throw a wrench in things question. And apologies because I didn't listen to the budget committee meeting yet. But years ago at this point, right, pre-COVID, we had plans to have a committee to have a conversation about the piece of property that we own over by the Sands Point Preserve. It was tabled because obviously there were different things going on in that period of time that we needed to focus on. While we're talking about long-term facilities planning, was there any conversation about thinking about the property that we own and the best way to utilize it, both that property and I don't know if there's any talk of any changes to the Guggenheim Preserve. Was there any contemplation of also starting to have that conversation again about whether there's something that should or could be done there that would be beneficial to the district?
So we are doing a feasibility study with our electric buses, and that site is one of the places that we identified and asked if they could give their opinion on what it would take to use that site for electric buses. So that is one thing that was discussed, but I leave that up to the Budget and Facilities Committee if they would like to.
If the board would like us to look at it again, we work at the will of the board, we're happy to.
I'm only one, so I defer to what the rest of the board thinks. I mean, I knew we had talked about it and that it was out there as a possibility for the electric buses. I guess what I'm talking about is like the conversation that to me would come right before that or maybe happen in tandem with that too, because I know there are other possibilities for electric buses too. And I think maybe we should be having a conversation about what is the most useful purpose of that piece of land. And maybe the outcome of it is right now nothing, right? And we shouldn't sell real estate, but we're just going to sit in it because we don't need it. But maybe there is something we could be doing with it.
Well, just so we, I was going to say, we went through the process and we found that the land was very hard to sell for a meaningful price that, right, if you recall.
So just to be clear, I'm
Yeah.
definitely not in favor of selling it. I haven't been from the moment it was
Same.
approved for selling it. It seemed like a foolish endeavor, and I'm glad that there are hurdles to selling it, but like there are other things we could potentially do with it.
So one of the things that we will be talking about at our Monday meeting is the electrification of buses and getting an update. If you remember, we've consulted with a consulting group that is helping us with this planning of this process. And of course, I just read recently that there might be some massive changes to it because the federal government is cutting all of the grant work associated with things like this. But I know that in those conversations, to your point, right, if we're getting a bus yard, these are big ifs, that would potentially be a piece of property. I do believe also in June, once we're done with the budget season, it's that time when the budget committee looks at other and we are talking about other revenue sources, and we talked about taking that time to kind of, May, June, that the budget is over, explore other opportunities we have for our properties and for revenue sources. So that can certainly be incorporated in that conversation easily.
That's great. So you're speaking about exactly where I was on this issue, because I think that when we set this conversation aside, where we were, and I think I was on the budget committee that year, where we were was we had been talking about creating a subgroup or subcommittee of the budget committee or an ad hoc committee, or I don't remember what kind of committee we decided was the right kind of committee, to talk about exactly that, about whether or not there was a possibility of a use that was kind of this intersection of what does the district need, what would be beneficial to the district students, what would serve the community, what could be revenue generating. And I know like one of the things on our list was where for a district our size, it's weird that we don't have a pool, right? Like, and is there a room for that kind of a facility? But obviously, we can't afford that kind of facility unless it was also revenue generating, or we figured out some way to go around that. And that's not the only idea out there. So I would love it if everybody else is okay with it, if the budget committee were to add that to their discussion at that. You're talking about once the budget passes in May, from there.
May, June, we usually cover that conversation and talk about, also I just want to be very clear, it's not just revenue generating from a standpoint of the property, but other revenue generating options that we can start exploring as well.
That's great, thank you, Julie.
Ms. Alvarez.
Sorry, I have a follow-up comment of my original question. I had the report up when you guys were saying what you were going to give me, but I was already looking at it. I just wanted to give a moment to process of what you were telling me. But in the report, like the long-range planning and in the report, one thing that was noted was new construction and looking at new construction. And since this report, there has been a lot going on in this town with new construction, which we as a board have not made a stance on. Yes, I understand. But as far as that, the demographer's report, I will relook at the live stream because it was a board meeting, but I'm pretty sure there was a few flaws that I can recall when it was presented to the board. There's a lot of questions on some items that they didn't include or look at. So this is many years discussion. For tonight, it's just one, but I will bring it up possibly at budget or a future meeting that I would maybe potentially we should consider a new look at such a report. But again, I'll bring it up at a future meeting.
Budget's good, bring it up at budget.
Okay. Alrighty. We'll bring, that's fine. Okay, any additional questions on that topic? Okay. I don't have any comments or questions I appreciate as well. I just want to ask that when you post this on the, I guess we're going to start posting this on the budget section of the board website, that we just make sure that all these links are clickable and it's not
Yes.
just like a scan.
Yes, and it is.
Okay,
So,
sounds good.
yeah, so just this last page has all of the helpful links that were discussed at the December 15th meeting. And it gives more detail into what we discussed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on to approval of minutes. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the December 16th, 2026 BOE meeting minutes. Is there a second? Ms. Epstein? Yeah, you're right, 2025, thank you. 2025, is there a second? Sorry, Ms. Epstein already said second. Is all in favor? 7-0, thank you. Okay. Moving right along, we had no committees that had met since the last meeting, so we're not going to have any committee reports. We will note that there's a policy meeting on Thursday, which is the 8th at 2 p.m. in the CAM Annex. Please.
So for the people who like to look at our board docs to see what we have, the committee would like to explain that this is just a lot of thought process right now. Nothing is written in stone. We have a lot of alternative 1, alternative 2, alternative 3. There's a lot of proposed language in there that's really rough draft. So please don't hitch your wagon to any particular version of it. We're still trying to work through and get questions and answers through administration to understand some of what's going on the ground at Weber and Schreiber. So there's going to be a lot of colorful stuff on the draft this coming Thursday, but just bear with us as we try to make the sausage.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. At this time, we are going to move to the consent agenda. I did not hear from anyone that there's anything to pull. Is that accurate? Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve items 12.1 through 15.1. Is there a second? Ms. Epstein, all in favor? 7-0. The consent agenda is approved.
Thanks to the Sousa.
Getting there, hold on. Oh, that's the only one. Thank you to the Sousa HSA for providing funding for the 4th grade field trip to Sound Waters. All right. Moving on. Excuse me, we have policy 4531, field trips and excursions up for adoptions. Does anyone have any comments? Okay, motion to adopt policy 4531, field trips and excursions. Is there a second? Ms. Alvarez, all in favor? 7-0, policy 4531 is approved. Okay. One second. It's out of order. Hold on. It's out of order here. Okay. Okay. So we're going to do old business. We have one comment that we needed to address from our last community comments. The comment was regarding whether or not the board supports a do no harm policy as it relates to grading. We also have received an email with a similar question. I want to note that the board is still discussing that. Right now, the policy committee is reviewing specifically the grading policy, as Ms. Brooks mentioned, and we do expect that there's going to be more data presented regarding specifically the topic of that question. So I think that that's something that the board will be able to answer in a future time, but at this point, it's something that the board is still studying. So I believe that answers the question. Moving on to new business. Does anybody on the board have new business they want to bring up? I don't think anything has been asked, so we're going to move on past new business to our second opportunity for community comments. I didn't check if anyone was signed up, but please just go up and say your name. You can step up to the podium. Right to the podium, yep. If you don't mind, after you speak, just write your name, but if you could state it for the record before you speak, that would be helpful. They're going to come help you with the microphone.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kara Miller, and I'm a parent in the district. Our current budget of nearly $200 million reflects our community's high expectations for education. With such a strong budget and a large population of children struggling to read with proficiency, we must look critically at where funds are allocated. I am here to discuss the fiscal choice between literacy-related legal costs versus specialized teacher trainings necessary to prevent those legal costs in the first place. Recent iReady data shared by the district highlights a concerning gap. While overall reading proficiency is strong, our students with disabilities have a significantly lower rate of proficiency. The disparity is not just an academic issue, it is a legal and fiscal liability. Every time a family files for a due process hearing or appeal because their child is not making progress in reading, the district incurs significant costs. Between specialized legal counsel, hours of staff time required for preparation, and fees for impartial hearing officers, a single contested literacy appeal can cost the district tens of thousands of dollars in administrative and legal fees alone. These are sunk costs that do nothing to help the children sitting in our classrooms tomorrow morning. We have also created a systemic crisis of equity. Families with the financial means can afford private tutors and high-priced attorneys to file appeals and secure specialized instruction for their children. For the families who cannot afford these luxuries, their children are left further behind. When the district spends money on legal fees to defend a failing literacy model, we aren't just spending money, we are maintaining an uneven playing field. Every dollar we spend on legal counsel to fight a literacy proceeding is a dollar that was not spent on improving classroom instruction. Instead of a reactive model, we should move to a proactive model that benefits all students. Comprehensive Orton-Gillingham training, the gold standard for reaching struggling readers, costs roughly $1,500 per teacher. For the cost of just 1 or 2 legal appeals, we could certify an entire grade level of teachers in the science of reading. By providing our teachers with these tools now, rather than waiting for the new curriculum rollout, we ensure that elite level literacy instruction is a right to every student, not a privilege
30
reserved
seconds.
for those who can afford it. In the interest of fiscal transparency and educational equity, I'm asking the board, 1, how much has the district spent on literacy-related legal fees and appeals over the last 5 fiscal years? 2, how much is specifically allocated in the current budget for Orton-Gillingham or similar science of reading certifications for our general and special education teachers? 3, will the board commit to shifting funds from the legal and administrative line items into professional development to ensure that our most vulnerable students don't have to rely on private funds to learn how to read? Thank you for your time and for your commitment to all students in Port Washington.
Thank you. Do we have any further speakers? No? Okay. At this time, we're not going to recess to executive session, so we're going to adjourn. Our next meeting will be on Friday the 9th, which is an executive session meeting to discuss employment of a particular employee. Our following public meeting is on January 20th. That meeting will start at 6:30 with public session convening at 7:30. And of course, for our exec session meeting, we do convene in public, so that'll be in the CAM annex. Anything else? Okay. Do I have a second? Motion to adjourn? Ms. Brooks, all in favor? 7-0. We are adjourned. See you next time.